These are our new Gemini pattern guides. This is set number 1. It has 6 different designs for you to use for your quilting, and always the one in the centre. So how do we use them? Well, I like to use them first on a piece of paper. So I've got a piece 12 by 12 here to replicate a block, and I'm going to use my pattern guide to draw myself a pattern. And I'm going to do it in pen so you can see it, but I'd normally perhaps do it on card with a pencil first. But you'll be able to see it with the pen. So I particularly like this design, and you can see how easy it is to replicate, going from top to bottom of what would be my block. Or maybe it's a border. So coming down the other side and just lining up the pattern guide. And if I like what I see, I can go ahead and transfer that onto fabric. Now don't forget, your ruler foot and the position of your needle on your machine, it'll be 1/4 of an inch away from that edge. And if you want to, use your quilting ruler to actually draw a line down the centre. The second design I picked out was using the curve, which is at the bottom of the pattern guide as you see it. And on your fabric you would be using your heat erasable pen and drawing yourself a grid. So just horizontal, vertical and diagonal lines, and you can put as many diagonal lines in as you wish. But this is a good starter. So using my darker pen again so you can see it, I'm going to position the curve so that first line fits right into the centre. It hugs that centre. Don't forget, with your ruler foot you'll be 1/4 of an inch away from that. But it gives you a good idea of what the design will look like. So just moving everything so it lines up. All you're going to do is go around the entire grid to draw your flower, and if it fits your design and you like how it looks, you can transfer it to fabric. So going one side, then round the other side, you can see how that works. But when you actually come to quilt that, you don't need to do one side all the way around, you can do the whole petal as you go. So how do we transfer that to fabric? Well, again, it's good to use your heat erasable pen and your quilting ruler to actually draw yourself a grid, even if it's just a vertical line. You can put horizontal lines in there as well. It's up to you, it's your design. So just giving myself some sort of guideline there, I'm just lining up my pattern guide, and of course now we're going to use our ruler foot. So this is how it would look, bird's eye view on your sewing machine. So just doing a few little stitches on the spot just locks those threads in place, and just get those out of the way because otherwise they'll end up like a bird's nest and we don't want that. So you're just following the pattern guide around. It's got a lovely non-slip surface, so it should hold your fabric beautifully, which makes this super easy. So a nice steady stitch. Please don't worry about your stitch length. It will vary, but if you're using a nice thread that matches your fabric, no one's going to know, and if they do, well, I think you've made a work of art anyway. So round you go to the top of your design. So stop where you feel it's appropriate. At this point you can turn your fabric with the needle still in, or you can remove it from your machine and come down the other side. So I chose to remove it. I didn't need to. So again, you're just popping your pattern guide down and you're following the lines. So it's almost like you're doing a mirror image of what you've just done. So again, a few little stitches on the spot just to lock those threads in place, and follow your pattern guide all the way. And from time to time you will have to move your guide so the pattern is repeated. And just line it up. You'll get an eye for this as you go. So continue along. There's no pressure on me to push that fabric through. My shoulders are relaxed and I'm enjoying the process. So there we are. There's our first piece of quilting done. And it's always good to do a test and a dummy run before you start your main design. Beautiful. So from just starting in the middle there, a few locking stitches. So what I'm going to do is line up that first line to the centre of my flower, and the top there, the dotted line, is lined up with my drawn line. So I'm just going to stitch along that curve with my needle down right in the centre. I'm just going to follow the pattern guide right up to the top. And I'll stop with my needle down right on that line. So just swivel the fabric around, flip your pattern guide over, pop your foot down again, and away you go. So lining up, making sure also that the piece at the back is to the centre and about 1/4 of an inch away from that centre dot. So again, just moving the fabric. Don't worry about your stitch length, just enjoy the process. So stopping right in the middle as best you can, swivel the fabric, and we're going from that line again, that first line, up to my dotted line at the top of my petal. So just following the pattern guide around, right up to the top, stopping on that line. Turn the fabric, flip the pattern guide over, and come down the other side. So there we are. So there's 2 of the petals done. You're going to actually now go all the way around to complete the rest of the flower.